Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who have their natal Pluto in the second house, which is the house of the money that you earn and your possessions, as well as your self-worth. And just one word about your self-worth. Sometimes people derive a sense of their self-worth from certain external things like money. So isn't that interesting? We talk about net worth. What is your net worth and what is your self-worth? And it's like in the same house. It's kind of like surreal in that sense. So, or maybe that's an exaggeration. I don't know if it's that surreal. The second house is a house where Pluto becomes obsessed, because Pluto is the planet of obsession, intensity, passion. You could say passion. It's one of the rulers of Scorpio, along with Mars. And Pluto is the god of the underworld. And there's a sense of mystery, the shadow, darkness. But regeneration, alchemy, which is taking something that is very rough or base and turning it into gold or something that is very valuable. And it's as a plan of transformation, you can look at where it is in your natal chart, and it can show you your greatest transformation in life. So we are to say that if somebody has Pluto in their natal, obviously we're talking about not the transiting Pluto, but the natal Pluto in the second house, that issues surrounding material wealth or just resources are transformative for you. Now, this may feel a little bit strange. Let's say your sun is in Pisces and you happen to have Pluto in the second house. I'm using Pisces as an example because as a sun sign, Pisces, or, as a sign, Pisces is very otherworldly, and so it's not really connected to the practical side of life. And this is one of the reasons why, if you consider yourself a light worker, or what we would say somebody who either has a profession that is connected to healing, the healing arts, or I would say even artists, or just as a human being, you feel that compelled or a part of your mission to spread love to others in whatever form you do, whether it's just your basic demeanor, if you try to be loving towards others at all times and encouraging and whatever. But however this manifests for you, that light workers tend to have issues around money in terms of like how they relate to it. And so it's not uncommon for people who consider themselves spiritual or artistic to have difficulty managing their money, earning money, like charging if they have a service, charging appropriate prices. They tend to undercharge. They don't feel deserving. They may deprive themselves of certain material possessions because they think it's materialistic, crass to own certain things. And I don't want to make it sound like, that's bad overall, because you can live a very simple lifestyle, and you're doing so because you do consider yourself a spiritual person and you just want to have an uncomplicated life. But when there's like guilt associated, that's when it becomes problematic, because I feel like energetically then the person tends to kind of push it away. So this issue of this house of possessions and Pluto and being empowered with money, or the idea of money and power, can be kind of like off-putting and maybe a conflict within yourself, if that's the case. But anyway, this can lead to obsession with wealth and possessions to have this placement. So Pluto can be about obsessions. And so this means that the person may want to be rich by any means necessary sometimes. Like whatever it takes to get there, I'll do it. And if you have Neptune in the second house as well, sometimes I would say this could possibly mean falling prey to get rich quick schemes or swindling situations. Because I think I've done a video already for Neptune in the second house, but I was talking about, the pigeon drop scheme. There are those ways that people get conned out of money. And when you read about it, like you read the police blotter and you say, how could somebody possibly, be that stupid, or, I don't want to be that cruel about it, but how could they be that naive and actually give their money away to a stranger because that person tells them that they're going to give them more in return? And they open the envelope that they've traded envelopes with this person, and it's filled with, confetti or something. But that's because that there's a naive, gullible quality of Neptune, but also the desire to get rich quick. With Pluto, there can be this obsession, and Neptune can fall prey to being deceived with money. So you combine the two, and that might, happen in certain respects. But this is the Lord of the Underworld, so this could be a situation of even some kind of black market, what do we call it? The underground economy. So anything that is not legal, that the person gets tempted to get involved with because they just have a strong desire for money. And sometimes you will read about people who got involved with gangs, maybe, being born into a lack of resources, but they had this obsession with getting rich. Now, not everybody that grows up in that environment has that same burning desire for money just because they lack it. Some people just adapt to it and they just make do with whatever they have. But some people, they really, do it. Now, the interesting thing about that is I've heard about rap artists who were formerly in gangs and, in that underground economy, and then they became these moguls. And what I think, and you think about that and you say, well, how could a gangbanger become so savvy about money? Look at their chart. Maybe they have Pluto in the second house. And it was always present within themselves to be this tycoon. But that was the only way they felt they could get there at the time in that environment. But that burning desire for that was that obsession was always present. And they just kind of, like it's an alchemy, they transform themselves from doing it in that way to doing it in a more above board sort of way. The possibility for wealth is definitely present when Pluto is in the second house. I think part of this is because there is such an obsession. When you have an obsession with something and you can't stop thinking about it, it's like a magnet to you. And the thing that I think sometimes, like I was talking about light workers, is that if that is you're not really a materialistic person, then it's really not on your radar. You just don't have that strong emotion tied to it or interest tied to it. So you don't really, it doesn't really come up for you the same way it does for these people. But I brought up light workers because I said, if you have this conflict of interest, it may, be very difficult to navigate. until you can really make peace with what money is all about, because it may be a loaded issue for you. But it definitely can be a marker of obtaining wealth. Now, you may be born into a situation where this is not the case. And of course, when people are born into a lack of money, and sometimes you might see Saturn here, although Saturn in the second house does not necessarily mean poverty, but if there is some other sign, maybe an afflicted Pluto or something like that, and it indicates that there's some kind of an obstacle to like having money when you were younger, that can be something that you become obsessed with having. And I think that happens so often in general, where people grow up without having a lot of resources, and it just becomes very important for them to transcend that barrier in their life. And one thing about Pluto, it's very resourceful. And so therefore, you can find ways to make money. And I'm always fascinated when I read about people making money and how they make money, because a lot of times I think that separates the people that just get by and the people that flourish, is because some people just have a knack for finding ways to make money, almost coming out of thin air. But again, it's like this engagement with the topic to begin with. And that means that you are putting attention on it. In Law of Attraction, they say, whatever you put attention upon grows. There's a thing that rhymes. Well, they say what you resist persists, but and maybe it doesn't rhyme. Where you put your attention on grows. So if you're really focused on your resources, then you can really make it happen. If you have Pluto here, chances are you're already going to be doing that, because you're going to have a certain obsessive quality. The thing that there could be trauma around money. So that's what I was talking about, even like early on. And that makes you that much more determined to make something happen. One of the biggest pitfalls of this position is, first of all, obsession with wealth, leading to maybe doing things that are destructive. Pluto can have a destructive nature. And the person can be destructive simply because their attitude is too focused on the material, and it's like by any means necessary, for instance, and that could lead to getting involved in nefarious activities. But also, Pluto is about power, and power, being controlling. This is when a person feels like they need to be in power, when they need to have a sense of power when it comes to their material resources. This can involve trying to control others as well. So a big place where this can show up is in relationships, where the person uses money as a means of control. And one of the, because this person may be obsessed with money, this can lead to a materialistic nature. And materialists tend to attract other materialists. One reason why is because that is where their consciousness is at. They have they place a dollar value on everything that they encounter, including human beings. And so they may, when they're courting somebody, when they're trying to get involved with somebody, they may throw money around. But when they throw money around, it comes with strings attached. It's not free. It's not just somebody being generous. So if this is you have to look at this, because here's what can happen very easily, is that you can attract somebody who is going to treat you the same way. You're throwing around money, they'll be a gold digger. That's what you will call them after you get divorced, after you break up, because you will condemn them for their actions, but you won't see your own actions and how you used money to get that person. So being able to understand cause and effect, because Pluto in the tarot is associated with the Judgment card, which is the card of, the chickens coming home to roost. Karma, cause and effect. Reaping what you sow. And sometimes people, they can see they can see the result, but they can't see that they were the ones that sowed those seeds to begin with. So there can be fear with these people, or you. I keep saying it like it's somebody else, but there can be a fear of like release. I'm thinking of Scorpio, because this is the sign that Pluto rules, and there's really a Scorpionic connection between Pluto in particular and Scorpio. And so some of those Scorpionic traits that we think about, like secretiveness and power and those kind of things, that is coming from the Pluto influence. And one of those things that can happen is that the person may have to learn this very difficult lesson that money cannot buy you love. The second house is the house of self-worth, as I stated earlier. So sometimes people with Pluto in the second house may use their money to boost up their self-esteem, so that other people they're using this to prove their self-worth, in other words, and other people will say, oh wow, that person's really somebody because they have money. And I was thinking of, like, if you have your sun in the second house, this can happen in a general sense where you identify who you are based on your money. So there can be some similarities there, and also some potential pitfalls that you fall into of identifying too much with it and being attached. But with Pluto, because this is an area of transformation, this can actually lead to sometimes the person might lose everything and they can rebuild better than before. I was just about to go into the $6 million man spiel. Better, faster, stronger. But, really just... Pluto, that could be like the phoenix rising from the ashes. And sometimes I think that the ashes come about because of the person's bad behavior. So I'm not saying that everybody who has Pluto in the second house is going to have some kind of a loss and then they're going to come back and gain it back. I'm saying that even if you experience that loss, you're not down for the count, because there's like this, from one of the resources that I read, I should give a shout out to it, and I don't have it in front of me. Oh, shucks. But what they were saying was, I don't know if I actually quoted them. I put down the regenerative, can I say it? Regenerative effects of Pluto. I use the word regenerative. They said you can go from owing money, from being in debt, to attaining wealth. So this is the ultimate alchemy when it comes to Pluto in the second house, obviously. And, you see these videos, self-help videos, in front of YouTube videos, ads, saying, I had nothing and then I did this and now I've got everything. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that could happen with you. So even if you're down for the count, don't ever count yourself out, because, yeah, they said Pluto has incredible strength. So that is something that you don't really have to worry about. The only thing is your consciousness and what you're telling yourself about it. But the actual ability to attract wealth is always present. Now, in terms of making money, or what you do for a living, the second house can indicate that by the planets that are there. So with the second house and Pluto can connect with wealth management, which I wrote down this term. I hope I'm using it correctly, but I'm talking about managing other people's wealth. So, being like a bank, I don't know what they call it, like an accounts manager, like an investment banker, maybe, something like that, where you're handling people's portfolios. Also doing investigation work, like I'm assuming they're talking about detective work, because Pluto, Scorpio, that's the kind of thing, maybe like a private investigator, or even a detective, which is a public service form of that. But also the underground economy, anything that is illegal, the underworld. And one of these professions, which, sometimes it's legal, sometimes it's not, is sex work. Sex is connected to Pluto. So anything that's connected, and it doesn't have to be illegal, but I mean, it could be like a prostitute. It could be a, phone sex. Do they even have phone sex anymore? I don't know. Video sex. It could be, a sex therapist, I suppose. Something like that. Sex worker, we'll just say it like that. That could be something that you do as well. So there you go. So anyway, I hope that was interesting and that resonated for you. If you would like to have me look at your natal chart, that's what I do. And I have different types of readings. And the link below will take you to that page. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.